Feeling unloved and unwanted is one of the worst feelings in the world, and no one should go through this kind of sad and cruel mental abuse. But that's exactly what happened to a young puppy when it was born with only 3 legs. This truly is a story that will shock you and make you want to run and hug your pet. When Charlie the puppy was born, he was the runt of the litter. His mother, Nellie, loved him just as much as every other single puppy in her litter and cared for him in the same way as she did every other puppy. But he was definitely different because he was born with only 3 legs. While he didn't seem at all fazed by his affliction, Charlie's owners found it tricky to give him away. It seemed like no one wanted a 3-legged runt that only a mother could love. Weeks went by, and Charlie saw each and every one of his brothers and sisters be adopted by loving families. Yet he still remained all alone. He started to believe that he would never be adopted. At first, he was excited to see the humans that came to see him, but as more and more time went by, he grew more and more dejected, realizing that no one wanted him. They were more interested in the normal-looking puppies, and just showed only a vague interest in Charlie and his disability. He was more of a curiosity than anything else. But one day, Charlie's fortunes all changed when a kind and friendly lady picked him up and told his owner that he would be perfect for her daughter. Charlie's tail wagged so much it looked like it was going to fall off, and only in a matter of days he was united with his new family. The kind lady that gave him a chance, and her cute daughter Daisy, who had always wanted a dog, instantly took to her new pet. At 7 years old, Daisy had a lot of energy and loved playing with Charlie, spending every day running in the yard with him and teaching him tricks. Just because he had only 3 legs didn't mean that he wasn't a fast and clever puppy. And besides, Daisy didn't even care about his disability. It's not like it held Charlie back or anything, so it was all good. In Daisy's eyes, the fact that Charlie had 3 legs made him even more special and unique. No one had a dog like hers. For the first week, Charlie was probably the most happy dog on earth. But all of that changed one day when a man entered the household. It was Daisy's father, and the husband of the kind lady that had given Charlie a chance. He didn't seem to like this 3-legged dog at all, seeing him as defective, and stating on more than one occasion that Charlie needed to be sent back, as no one wanted or needed a 3-legged dog. He would regularly mistreat Charlie as he was passing, hitting the poor dog with his fists whenever he was close enough. Charlie learned to stay away from the man as much as he could, though every day the man would find him to show him just how much he hated the dog. But one night, when everyone had gone to bed, the man scooped Charlie up, put a leash tightly around his neck, and threw him into the back seat of his car, driving off at high speed. They drove for about a half hour, eventually pulling up in a silent and empty parking lot. The man got out, grabbed Charlie's leash, and yanked him from the car, nearly choking the poor puppy. Charlie ran alongside the man, trying his best to keep up before they reached a large wooded area. The man pulled out a flashlight, and then into the woods they went. Eventually, he looked around and identified the perfect spot to abandon a dog. He tied one end of the leash to the tree, meaning that Charlie was trapped there in the cold and darkness of the woods. It didn't look like people passed through here all that often, so the chances of the poor 3-legged dog being found were very slim. Indeed, Charlie watched with great sadness as the nasty man turned and left him tied to that tree, barking and whining. For several days, all Charlie could do was continue barking and hoping that someone would discover him. As days and nights rolled by, it became obvious that no one was coming for Charlie. This is where he was more than likely going to die, tied to a tree. Charlie had a kind heart and had never hurt anyone before. He just wanted love and didn't understand what he had done to deserve such cruelty. Was this the end for the poor, disabled dog? It seemed like only a miracle could save him at this point. The poor puppy, in desperate need of food and water, started to grow weak and thin. He stopped barking. He even stopped expecting to be found. Curled up in a ball at the base of the tree he was tied to, Charlie seemed to have accepted his sad fate. But that's when he heard something. A noise. Someone was coming. Sure enough, A kind-looking man who was taking a stroll through the woods had stumbled upon the location of poor Charlie. While at first he was a little frightened by the sight of a dog jumping and yelping at him, the man soon realized that the dog needed help and had indeed been abandoned. Who would do such a thing to such an adorable animal? Thought the man, exasperated. Untying an eternally grateful Charlie, the man took him home and provided him with all the food and water he needed. He also called the vet to make sure that the poor puppy wasn't suffering from any injuries or illnesses. Fortunately, all that was wrong with him was that he was malnourished, dehydrated, and in need of a lot of love. The kind man spent over a month nursing Charlie back to health. But eventually, the time came when he had to make a choice. He could either give the dog up or keep him and care for him as his own pet. It seemed like it was fate to keep him, so that's exactly what he did. But one day, while on a walk, Charlie noticed that things seemed very familiar. He had seen the houses and the parks before. The benches and the trees were all familiar, and even a few of the people he passed reminded him of his old life with Daisy. But something was about to happen that would shock both Charlie and his new owner. All of a sudden, Charlie heard a girl yell. He knew that voice, and his tail started wagging like never before. Turning around, he saw a girl run across the street, closely followed by her mother. It was Daisy. As Daisy cried and cuddled the overjoyed dog, her mother explained things to Charlie's confused new owner. She said that her ex-husband was abusive and had not only been cruel to Charlie, but to her and Daisy too. She explained that her ex had told them that Charlie had run away in the night and not to go looking for him. And after a few weeks, they assumed the poor dog to be dead. Luckily, the lady had plucked up the courage to have her ex-husband arrested. And now, she and Daisy lived in peace and freedom in a happy and safe home. The kind man who had rescued Charlie was moved beyond words by this story. And as he looked down at Daisy and Charlie, hugging and playing, he reconsidered his decision to keep the three-legged dog for himself. Clearly, he belonged with Daisy and her mother. How could he separate such a loving dog from such a caring owner? Bending down, the kind man stroked Charlie's head and told him that he was going to let him go and live back with his old family again. Charlie jumped up and licked his face, as if to thank him for his compassion and for rescuing him from certain death. The man handed the leash over to Daisy and told her that she and Charlie belonged together. Smiling, the kind man watched as the happy, reunited family walked away. Charlie spent the remainder of his days by Daisy's side, forever wanting to remind her how much he loved her. And in return, Daisy gave Charlie nothing but unconditional love. She had never cared that he had only had 3 legs. All that mattered to her was that her dog had a kind heart.